Alrighty, Friday, November the 27th, our daily briefing for KLAM and KCDV in the 1, 5, and 8 p.m. hours, weekdays, and then youtube.com/Cordova TV, where this gets uploaded as soon as possible, and is available for online viewing or review or going through the archive or what have you. I'm pleased to say nothing earth-shattering in today's announcement, so we're just going to review kind of some key things going into another weekend at the local and state level. I would point out, first of all, that earlier briefings this week were content-rich and might be worth reviewing if you haven't caught them, the ones for Monday and Tuesday specifically, as we were trying to get a handle on for our standards, a fairly steep rise in cases. At the time of putting this program together, the dashboard hadn't been updated, and with the holiday weekend, I don't know if it will. We can keep an eye on it, but I talked to Dr. Sanders anyway, because as I've told you, we always confer for at least a little while in the morning, and she said she wasn't aware of any new local cases, and that the hospitalizations are heading in the right direction as well, that hopefully soon we won't have any COVID-related hospitalizations. So we cross the fingers. One of the main things that she was concerned about this week, and that she talked about briefly on Monday and we covered a little more in depth on Wednesday, was the need for anybody identified as a close contact of somebody who is positive for coronavirus. All those close contacts need to do a full 14-day quarantine and not think that it's okay to leave quarantine if they get a negative test during the 14 days. That test is not, those tests during the 14-day period are not to excuse one from quarantine, but basically so you can know if you need treatment or not. Again, we covered that in depth on Wednesday. As far as other perspectives that are still at the top of the pile from the city, we remain at that level 4 alert level, which the city says does not mandate the closure of businesses or public spaces. Decisions as to whether a business should remain open or not are complex, and so they don't, I'm quoting from their news release, so they don't intend for the change in alert level at this time to instruct businesses across the board, but they add businesses should exercise diligent COVID-19 safe practices, and if the case count should continue to grow, then level 5 measures have to be considered. So it's another one of those things where we're kind of on a teetering point, and it's really up to the community, up to all of us to determine where that goes. The city, like the state, is emphasizing this concept of keeping the bubble small, reducing contact with anybody outside your immediate household as much as possible. Elective travel is certainly not banned, but it's very much not encouraged, which is tough, of course, with the holiday season and people wanting to go places. But again, it's, we've been really fortunate here that it hasn't become the mess that it is just about everywhere else, not only in the lower 48. Alaska as a whole was an exception to bad case numbers for quite some time, but unfortunately that didn't remain the case. So again, elective travel outside the community, any of us going out and coming back, or anybody from outside coming in, is very much discouraged. Not banned, but discouraged. There's also been more emphasis this week on the importance of knowing if you can't just be around people in your immediate household, in your immediate bubble, because you're required to or because you choose to be around people outside that bubble. It's important to the contact tracers that you know anybody that you've come in contact with and that you log that, ideally, because the spread has become so rapid around the state that the contact tracers can't keep in touch anymore. They had a news release to that effect earlier this week, saying the DHSS cautions that the surge in COVID-19 cases has strained the public health response, creating a backlog in case and contact investigations. So they're urging anyone who receives a positive test result to notify their own close contacts as soon as possible so individuals can quarantine without delay. It goes on to say contact tracing remains a top priority for DHSS, but because of high case volume, public health officials are asking for the community's help. DHSS Commissioner Adam Crum said, "We remain committed to doing everything we can to fight this pandemic. This includes contact tracing, providing affordable and accessible testing, securing and shipping supplies to communities, supporting our healthcare providers, and increasing mental health support. However, we're at a point in this pandemic where we truly need everyone's help. We're urging Alaskans to reduce risks and take action to protect themselves, their loved ones, and their communities." And then this document goes on to say similar things to what Dr. Sanders said about the need to know how to effectively quarantine, discouraging elective travel, and then saying again that contact tracers are not going to be able to work as quickly as they would like or as is ideal. So each of us knowing who we come in contact with that is not in our household is important in terms of being able to contain any spread. And then the state concludes here by saying that Alaskans should get tested immediately at the first sign of any symptoms. Testing is the best tool for understanding virus transmission and risk in communities. And then most Alaskans get COVID-19 from a friend, family member, or coworker. So Alaskans should avoid indoor gatherings with non-household members, avoid crowds, wear masks when around non-household members, and stay 6 feet away minimum from anybody not in their household. So again, at this point, this is all pretty familiar, I'm sure, to a lot of folks, and we just wanted to reiterate again what are considered some of the key takeaways from last week and this week. It's a drag. Everybody's tired of it. Everybody acknowledges that everybody's tired of it, including our own local officials. I think Mayor Copeland said something about that the last time we visited with him. Dr. Sanders has mentioned it a number of times, knowing that it's particularly at this time of year, a year when we're really used to gathering and getting to spend time together, to have that being discouraged to this extent is very frustrating for a lot of people. However, getting a lot of people sick and possibly having fatalities on the other side of that coin is pretty grim, to think about. So holding back this year, hoping and praying that the vaccine will do what the experts are hoping it'll do in terms of moving us back towards something a little more normal, hopefully a lot more normal. And maybe this will be the only year where the holidays have to be this way. Let me actually, on that subject, finish up with something, again, not necessarily earth-shattering, but worth consideration. I came across a report doing something for a different line of work that's not radio, from a psychologist that, in a nutshell, said going ahead and getting your holiday decorations going and your holiday music and that kind of thing, if you're a person, by the way, that tends to enjoy that kind of thing, and obviously not everybody does, but giving yourself permission to maybe decorate earlier, have nice lights to look at, cheery music to listen to, that this might be a real good year to do that. So, maybe this weekend there'd be some time to brighten the home and get some of those good vibes going, which the psychologist in the report said, can help to offset some of the winter darkness and the pressure to understand what's going on with a pandemic, that you might get a little bit of a counterbalance from that. So for what that's worth, we'll conclude there. And thank you for joining us for today's Daily Briefing, Friday, November 27th, on the radio in the 1, 5, and 8 p.m. hours, and youtube.com/Cordova TV if you would like to hear this online. Again, the programs earlier this week, particularly the 23rd and the 24th, I believe, and then on the 25th even, we covered the need to stay in quarantine. So if you want to catch any of those, youtube.com/Cordova TV. We wish everybody a great rest of the weekend. And thank you for tuning in. We'll get you back to regular programming on the Clam and the Eagle.